William was watching her. "Aye, you're looking mighty fierce," he said. "You must love your wee brother to face a' these monsters for him." And Tiffany couldn't stop her thoughts. "I don't love him. I know I don't. He's just so sticky and can't keep up, and I have to spend too much time looking after him. And he's always screaming for things. I can't talk to him. He just wants all the time." But her second thinking said, "He's mine. My place, my home, my brother. How dare anything touch what's mine?" She'd been brought up not to be selfish. She knew she wasn't, not in the way people meant. She tried to think of other people. She never took the last slice of bread. This was a different feeling. She wasn't being brave or noble or kind. She was doing this because it had to be done, because there was no way that she could not do it. She thought of Granny Aking's light, weaving slowly across the downs on freezing, sparkly nights, or in storms like a raging war, saving lambs from the creeping frost or rams from the precipice. She froze and struggled and tramped through the night for idiot sheep that never said thank you and would probably be just as stupid tomorrow and get into the same trouble again. And she did it because not doing it was unthinkable. There'd been the time when they met the peddler and the donkey in the lane. It was a small donkey and could hardly be seen under the pack he'd piled on it, and he was thrashing it because it had fallen over. Tiffany had cried to see that, and Granny had looked at her and then said something to Thunder and Lightning. The peddler had stopped when he heard the growling. The sheepdogs had taken up position on either side of the man, so that he couldn't quite see them both at once. He raised his stick as if to hit Lightning, and Thunder's growl grew louder. "I'd advise ye not to do that," said Granny. He wasn't a stupid man. The eyes of the dogs were like steel balls. He lowered his arm. "Now, throw down the stick," said Granny. The man did so, dropping it into the dust as though it had suddenly grown red hot. Granny Aking walked forward and picked it up. Tiffany remembered that it was a willow twig, long and whippy. Suddenly, so fast that her hands was a blur, Granny sliced it across the man's face twice, leaving 2 long red marks. He began to move, and some desperate thought must have saved him, because now the dogs were almost frantic for the command to leap. "Hurts, don't it?" said Granny pleasantly. "Now I knows who you are, and I reckon you knows who I am. You sell pots and pans, and they ain't bad, as I recall. But if I put out the word, you'll have no business in my hills. Be told, better to feed your beast and whip it. You hear me?" With his eyes shut and his hands shaking, the man nodded. "I'll do," said Granny Aking, and instantly the dogs became once more 2 ordinary sheepdogs, who came and sat either side of her with their tongues hanging out. Tiffany watched the man unpack some of the load and strap it to his own back, and then, with great care, urged the donkey on along the road. Granny watched him go, while filling her pipe with Jolly Sailor. Then, as she lit it, she said, as if the thought had just occurred to her, "Them as can do, has to do for them as can't, and someone has to speak up for them as no voices." Tiffany thought, is this what being a witch is? It wasn't what I expected. When do the good bits happen? She stood up. "Let's keep going," she said. "Aren't you tired?" said Rob. "We're going to keep going." "Aye, well, she's probably headed for her place beyond the wood. If we dinna carry ye, it'll tak about a couple of hours." "I'll walk." The memory of the huge dead face of the drone was trying to come back into her mind, but fury gave it no space. "Where's the frying pan?" "Thank you. Let's go." She set off through the strange trees. The hoofprints almost glowed in the gloom. Here and there other tracks crossed them, tracks that could have been birds' feet, rough, round footprints that could have been made by anything, squiggly lines that a snake might make, if there were such things as snow snakes. The pixies were running in line with her on either side. Even with the edge of the fury dying away, it was hard looking at things here without her head aching. Things that seemed far off got closer too quickly. Trees changed shape as she passed them. Almost unreal, William had said. Nearly a dream. The world didn't have enough reality in it for distances and shapes to work properly. Once again, the magic artist was painting madly. If she looked hard at a tree, it changed and became more tree-like and less like something drawn by Wentworth with his eyes shut. This is a made-up world, Tiffany thought, almost like a story. The trees don't have to be very detailed, because who looks at trees in a story? She stopped in a small clearing and stared hard at a tree. It seemed to know it was being watched. It became more real. The bark roughened, and proper twigs grew on the end of the branches. The snow was melting around her feet too, although melting was the wrong word. It was just disappearing, leaving leaves and grass. If I was a world that didn't have enough reality to go around, Tiffany thought, then snow would be quite handy. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It's just white stuff. Everything looks white and simple, but I can make it complicated. I'm more real than this place. She heard a buzzing overhead and looked up, and suddenly the air was filling with small people, smaller than a feagle, with wings like dragonflies. There was a golden glow around them. Tiffany, entranced, reached out a hand. At the same moment, what felt like the entire clan of Nakmak-Feagle landed on her back and sent her sliding into a snowdrift. When she struggled out, the clearing was a battlefield. The pixies were jumping and slashing at the flying creatures, which were buzzing around them like wasps. As she stared, two of them dived onto Rob Anybody and lifted him off his feet by his hair. He rose in the air, yelling and struggling. Tiffany leaped up and grabbed him around the waist, flailing at the creatures with her other hand. They let go of the pixie and dodged easily, zipping through the air as fast as hummingbirds. One of them bit her on the finger before buzzing away. Somewhere a voice went, "Hooray!" Rob struggled in Tiffany's grip. "Quick, pick me doon," he yelled. "There's gonna be poetry."